For King Bin, it was if the sun had abandoned the kingdom of Magnus, for its rays never bathed the kingdom in glory again. Every single day, he spent his time cooped up in his room, swallowed in the darkness and cold of the four walls. He is mostly alone, as he prefers no company. Even the company of his wife and children he did not crave. But if there's one company he would allow with him, it was the man who stood across from him at this moment. "What is it, Dobby?" Said man has his back facing the king. He is shaken with anger as he reads the letter. He lives. King Bin can sense the pure anger turning in with Dobby's voice. He survived. This time, Dobby crumbled the letter he has received from his friend who resides at Igneous. The said friend who gave him word about the different route Bakugou would take. The king could only sigh. "I told you were being impatient. If you could only wait for my daughters." "Wait for your daughter for what?" Dobby snapped. "I have been waiting for a long time for your daughter to go and claim the throne." "But what she did to instead? She is starting to pro-rise with her husband." "Yin is a patient girl, Dobby, unlike you. She has plans and has more possibilities of succeeds if she follows it." "Is that right? Restoring her husband's health? Is that also part of her plan?" The statement detached King Bin's back from his seat as he stared unbelievably at Dobby. "What did you say?" "I'm saying my plan would have worked, if not for your daughter." Dobby seethed. King Bin breathed heavily as he glared at every time his gaze at. His hands fist and slammed them on his armchair, the same frustration that Dobby feels. Stupid child!" Dobby pinned the king with his half-lit eyes that pooled with resentment. When King Bin noticed his expression, he did the most ironic thing a king would do. He went and kneeled in front of Dobby. "Forgive her. Oh, forgive her. I assure you my daughter must have had her reasons. Maybe it's part of her plan," the king wailed. The dark-haired man gazed down. "Pathetic," he scoffed. Now that I'm messed up, I guess I needed your daughter after all. Perhaps I should give her one last chance. She should repay me for what she did." The king looked at him expectantly. Dobby spoke again. 3 months. He walked away from the king. "Make sure your daughter wears the crown in 3 months, or I will simply deem her useless to my plan and dispose of her." "Well, what can you even do? Igneous will tighten their security, and you won't do harm on them anymore." The king's threat wasn't recognized as Dobby kept walking. "Wait, Dobby, where are you going?" Dobby stopped by the door and said, "To visit my family." These are my final words. Yin ushered out. "My death is waiting, and I am to meet it very soon. But I want you to know I forgave you all." She breathed in. "You have wronged your queen. But still, you are my subjects, and I will never turn away from you, even in death." Yin looked up and dared to meet the blinding light from the window. It hurts, yet she never wanted to peel her eyes off it. "Your Majesty, it's time." Suddenly, Urarka called for her. A sigh escaped her lips, and Yin immediately closed the book she was reading. She wasn't sure if Urarka heard her mumbling the dialogue from the book. That would be embracing if she did. Yin tends to say the words she reads from the book out loud, especially if she's too engrossed and swept by the heavy emotions the book took off. Her mother always says that it's a habit she should get rid of. She thanked Uraka before leaving her chambers and started a walk with a destination in mind. This early morning, her husband requested an audience with her in the throne room. The nearer she gets there, the more nervous she feels. It's been 4 days since Yin revived Bakugou from his pain and saved him from dying. 4 days. And Kirishima took him away to further his safety and make sure he's functional. Of course he's functional, Yin thought. Her quirk made him look as brand new as possible. He's no longer has burn marks, and he looked like he was polished, like a newly made porcelain doll. He looks better, much more alive. And so far, there were no callings for her punishment. At least, not yet. Maybe this meeting would announce her punishment. Yin arrived by the doors where 2 soldiers stood. They bowed and opened the door to her. She opted looking down as she went inside, and then she looked up to see, for the first time these past few days. Her breath hitched. Your Majesty. She offered a bow despite her almost trembling voice. Kirishima is present as well. In fact, it was the only 3 of them. She expects at least a few dozen of nobles would come to witness her punishment. Yin looked at Bakugou again and examined his features. She was right. He looks well. Thank you, Your Majesty, for coming here, Kirishima spoke. She decided to cut to the chase. Am I going to be punished? Kirishima was stunned, as well as Bakugou. It permitted Yin to look at them in confusion. What? Bakugou retorted. Why the hell would we punish you? If there's someone we should punish, it would be the traitor. The first meeting and his first words were in a harsh tone. But Yin thinks it's good and somehow nostalgic. That just proves that Bakugou is still alive. Forgive me. I thought I was going to be punished for what I did. No. Kirishima shook his head. I've had my suspicions against you, and now that the truth has been revealed, I believe I owe you an apology, Your Majesty. I am truly sorry. You are a good man, Kirishima, she smiled. And you found the traitor. Yes, I did, he answered. But she escaped. Bakugou cut in. Ooh, you finally get the traitor. Did you guys know who it was? Because I'm about to say it. It was Lady Cammy. Yin confirmed her suspicion. No one has heard of the lady after Bakugou woke up, and a word of her being missing haunted the palace walls. That is right. Kirishima nodded. So far, that is what we know. We have no idea or whatsoever about how she acquired the information of Bakugou's route, and how she contracted some individuals with dangerous quirks to do her bidding. Then, we must find her. That's what we are doing right now, Your Majesty. I've sent a party to look for her. She's already branded as a fugitive, Your Majesty. If you know anything at all that might help us, it would be good. Yin shook her head. Unfortunately, I have no information. Kirishima sighed hopelessly. Then we must keep searching. Thank you for your cooperation, Your Majesty. Yin is glad there is no punishment. She was merely called so they could ask for any information. The redhead bowed at the 2 monarchs and excused himself, leaving Yin alone with Bakugou. She doesn't know what to say to him except flashing him a smile before offering a curtsy to announce her leave. Oi, Sparkles. He stopped her. Yin turned back. Yes? Bakugou was avoiding her gaze and having a hard time saying what he wanted to express. Nonetheless, he did his best. You saved my life. Yin blinked, waiting for him to continue. Thank you, I guess. Her lips curved into a smile, genuine appreciation of how he made an effort to express his feelings. With a nod, she decided to honor his efforts. "You're welcome." Another few days have gone by, and everything seems to fall into its usual place in the court of Bakugou Katsuki. The only changes that occurred is security being more strict than ever with Kirishima's efforts. He has learned this lesson to be more cautious and was out of afraid to deny the king whatever he asked to go outside the palace grounds. Bakugou has been miserable. He's been asking to go to the front lines, but everyone in their sane mind who had heard of his request knows that it's the most dangerous thing for him to do right now. The enemy might still be lurking out there, waiting for another opportunity to strike the King of Igneous again. He was deemed over and over again, which made him more grumpy than ever. Although everyone is used to a sour mood, she is even more surprised that she is adapting to it. Yin agrees with the whole ordeal, yet she finds herself rotting inside the palace as she buried herself in paperwork every day. She wishes she could go out and visit the orphanage or go and see how Maru and Katsuma are doing, but then again, she isn't allowed to go until it's safe. It was the evening when Yin finished all of the paperwork for today and decided to go get dinner to ease her rumbling stomach. When she got to the private dining room, Bakugou was already there, not minding his dinner, as he furrowed his brows at a boom, trying to concede. "Well, this is straight to behold," Yin teased as soon as she sat down beside him to start with her dinner. Bakugou scoffed and closed the book. "I am losing my damn mind with nothing else to do." "I feel the same, too. There's more to come tomorrow. I hate being a royalty." A chuckle escaped Yin's lips as she shook her head. "You don't mean that." There was a pause before Bakugou shook his head and leaned on his chair. "Yeah, I don't." Yin blinked as she glanced at him. He seems off today. She decided to change the topic, but she has no idea what to start with without making it so suspicious. So she opted on starting at him until he is out. "What do you want, Sparkles?" She stuttered. How were things at the front lines?" This seemed to interest him as his eyes lit up a little. "The general said everything is going according to plan. They're close on advancing." That brought a wide smile on Yin's face, which she immediately restrained from doing so any further. The news brought genuine happiness to her, but she can't just go and smile like that, scheming from behind, which is true. She cannot show it. "Is that so? Well, I wish them success." There was a pause before Bakugou spoke again. "Shitty here told me you stood in for me in the war room, and the general's plan was your plan." Yin looked up to meet his gaze and nodded slowly. "Yes, that is true." She doesn't understand why she's insecure all of a sudden. It is the fact that she can't predict whether or not Bakugou would approve of her strategy, leading his men to battle. "That makes it twice," he said, confusing her. "Twice what?" "You saved my ass twice." Now she understands. Oh, you counted. Honestly, she did not expect for him to do that. A few days earlier, he had been so bashful just to thank her, but now it seems as if what she had done had finally sinked in his mind so deep that maybe it altered his confidence at displeasing gratitude and sentiments. "Now, what do you want?" he pressed once more. Yin is confused again, this time doubled with paranoia that maybe Bakugou had found her ulterior motives. Granted, Yin asked, "What do I want?" "Yeah, you saved my life and my soldiers. What do you want for exchange?" She suddenly breathed out as if she was just holding her breath earlier. Assured, Yin followed her guard down and suddenly became flustered. She's quite shocked that Bakugou was offering her something, but she decided not to refuse on this one. She decided to speak what she wanted. "I just wish for us to be nicer to each other." Yin sounds like a child making a wish upon the stars, but Bakugou made no reaction to insult it. She wasn't sure where that came from, but she seems genuine, felt that their marriage had gone long enough for the two of them to accept each other's flaws and work with it, especially that the two of them had a whole kingdom to run. But maybe it also stemmed from the deepest desire from her childhood, where she wished to live the ideal marriage life she had always imagined, peaceful and full of love. It was silly, and she knew she shouldn't hope, especially with Bakugou. Maybe it's also because she feels that her plan will come into motion someday and thought she should at least spend the rest of her marriage with Bakugou in publicity. Yin has become very confident with her feelings ever since she saw his horrible dying state, and when she eased from his dying. What? Bakugou raised a brow. That's what you want? The hell does that mean? He uttered the last part. She nodded her head. Yes, that's all, and went back to her dinner. The room went still with their silence, save for the clucking of utensils. Yin is wondering if he is considering her favor. He should ask her after all. However, she is unsure whether Bakugou wants to civil with her or even act nicer to her like the married couple they are. I fucked up, he whispered, startling Yin. She may or may not know what that means. Her eyes met his, and she became more startled by the lack of resentment in his pair. Oddly, they had held a speck of realization. She wondered if she finally realized what he had done to her. You asking that from me means I really fucked up this marriage. A dry chuckle left his lips, and Yin couldn't believe his words. Her lips parted, about to say something when Midoriya suddenly ushered inside the room. The two broke away from each other's gazes and turned to a panic-stated Midoriya. Kachan, there's someone to see you. The scholar started, out of breath. Bakugou clicked his tongue. Deku, I told you not to. What is that? His scoffing was cut off with a confused towards the letter in Midoriya's hand. Yin noticed a crest was stamped on the letter, but before she could take a closer look, Bakugou had immediately already snatched the letter from Midoriya. The blonde went on to read it before his face conceded into fury and dropped the letter on the table. Deku, come with me. It was the last thing he said before he disappeared with Midoriya to who knows where. Yin, anxiously and confused, left her seat and to take a look at the letter, and she was astonished the words written on the paper. She is overcome with dread. Igneous, the kingdom of light and sun, will be expecting the arrival of King Todoroki Shoto of Glacia, the kingdom of snow and ice.